there, and welcome to Radio Free Bay Ridge, your hyperlocal progressive podcast focused exclusively on Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. I'm Dan, and it's good to be back, everyone! I haven't done this for quite some time. Pandemic era, we kind of dropped off the face of the map there, but we are back. We have new contributors, new stuff lined up, new episodes. I'm typing, we're getting back into it. We didn't leave, we just went on hiatus, so welcome to Season 2. To start off, we have in the studio today Danny Loud, one of our new contributors for environmentalism, and we never figured out your official title, did we?
Environmentalism or anything related to the environment works.
If you remember some of our older episodes, we would go over Bay Ridge progressive groups and organizations and go into how they were founded, and Danny created the Bay Ridge Environmental Group with a bunch of other people, obviously, which now has been going for how many years now?
3.5. We started in November 2020, so
wow.
Yeah.
So why Bay Ridge Environmental Group? Why local? Environment is a big thing. If I'm someone in Bay Ridge and I'm like, I want to help the environment, why not go to like some larger organization?
Yeah, honestly, it really ties back to our origin. 3.5 years ago was November 2020. It was the middle of the pandemic. Again, I helped start it, but I wasn't the only one. And a lot of us were just feeling very hopeless, very much like there wasn't a whole lot that we could do about any of the many, many problems that we had going on.
Yeah.
And that we're still facing, honestly. But it really began with us just trying to find a place to talk to each other about what we were all feeling. The environment has always been an issue that I've cared about. It's been an issue that a lot of people care about. So I think it just started, honestly, with a post on Fight Back Bay Ridge. I think I was just like, does anybody want to help start an environmental group? And it ended up getting well over 50 reactions of some form or another. Obviously, not all of those people became active members or even responded when I said, hey, are you serious about that? But enough people joined on, and we really didn't have any plan in mind when we started, to be totally honest. We just really wanted to talk about what we could actually do to get involved. The first thing that we did was just counting all of the street trees in the neighborhood to see what trees looked diseased, what trees, or tree pits, I should say, were empty, that we could give that information to the Parks Department. And we just sort of really branched out from there. I mean, to sort of answer your question of why get involved in environmentalism locally, so many of these problems are so huge. Climate change is a global problem. Like, we can't even really fix it in the United States alone.
Yeah.
But we wanted to make sure that people knew that there was stuff that you can do and stuff that you can do locally that really matters. New York is one of the most important states, or it should be one of the most important states for leading on climate change and renewable energy. So we have an important role talking to our elected officials and making sure they realize that. There is a lot that we can do around our city's transit and resiliency, and Bay Ridge is a perfect place to focus on that. And then, of course, there are the quality of life issues that we get involved with in volunteering. One of the things that I've discovered being part of this now for a long time is how many issues touch on the environment. We just want to give people a space to get involved in that, to feel like they're making a difference. And I think they have been.
I'm thinking back to that time. I think I was one of those reactions on Facebook for that initial
you were
post.
on the first Zoom meeting.
I think I was, because that was middle of pandemic. I hadn't been out of my house for a while.
Yeah.
There was something really alluring about, oh, let's go out to a park. Oh, I could walk around and check tree pits, and that's valuable somehow.
It is.
I will absolutely do that, because we have a lot of street trees in this neighborhood, more than most districts. And we have a lot of parks. We're lucky that our neighborhood has so many parks, but it also means there's a lot to take care of. And it usually gets away from the assigned park staff, which is one of the first things often to be cut in the city budget. And there are environmental groups that obviously predate BREG. The community garden organizations and individuals have formed ad hoc groups replanting the highway or taking care of parts of Shore Road and things like that. But never was there anything like you're describing, that was not just like, hey, we can go and pick up stuff in a park, but also let's look at transit. Transit's not normally a thing that an environmental group traditionally
Yeah,
would be like, yeah, that's super important.
exactly.
It's really interesting. That's Bregg's thing, is that they're doing all of it. Anything that touches on the environment could be a focus of an action.
Of course. It started really with, what do you guys want to talk about? Like seriously, I'm pretty sure that's how the first meeting started. And it's been evolving over 3.5 years now. And I really think that's one of the great things about the group, is that it doesn't have a set list of issues and we don't go beyond that.
Hmm.
And you're right about all of the other community gardens, block
Yeah.
associations, things like that. They're really great, and we work with as many of them as we can. But the long term goal for the group is to make it the hub for getting involved in the environment. If there's something you want to do, we can help. We're all volunteer, so at some point we'll run up against limited capacity.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into season 2 of Breg.
There we go.
But we want to be able to give people the tools that they need to go out on their own. We're still working towards that, but I feel good about it.
That Zoom meeting was, what do you want to talk about? What were the things that people wanted to talk about in those first few meetings?
The first one was that tree survey. I think that's what we called
Yeah.
it, or census or something like
That's
that.
it. It was a
The
tree
tree
census.
census, I think, yeah. We started the group in fall, and usually the Parks Department likes to plant new trees around spring.
Mhm.
So we thought we had a couple of months to really do a thorough survey of the neighborhood, put the data into a list, and get it back to the Parks Department. And I hope it was helpful. We were able to get it to the Parks Department. I don't really know internally what they did with it afterwards. But a lot of what we started as well was going around asking, what can we do?
Yeah.
Because none of us had done any of this
Yeah.
before. Another thing we did was we reached out to Councilman Brandon's office and we asked, what can we do to help out with e-waste recycling, things like that.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was actually something that I will say did kind of fall to the wayside. Not through anybody's fault, it's just they're really hard to set up.
Yeah.
So those were things that we just tried to reach out to as many people as we could and see where we were valuable. The first regular aspect of what we do, I guess I'd say, that we really landed on is the park cleanups that we still do
Mhm.
monthly. We were able to get in touch with a group called Partnerships for Parks,
Yeah.
which we still work with all the time to help set up our cleanups. They're really just a go-between between us and the Parks Department, but they make sure that we get all the supplies that we need, that we are set to be in the park, promotion work, all of that, and anybody can do it with a 40-minute training that I did 3 years ago, and I've never had to repeat it. And so that was the first real public-facing thing that we did.
Mhm.
Of course, it was a 95% chance of torrential rain, so we canceled it. And then it was beautiful out, so we did it the next week.
Ugh.
And not as many people came. But we started it that way, and we've been doing them almost every month ever since. And again, that was just sort of one of the things that we wanted to do, to bring more people in, let them know that we were here in the community
That-
doing this.
Sounds like just the most universally positive thing. How could anyone have a, and I know I'm leading this question because I know that people had a problem with the fact that people were cleaning up their local
Yeah.
parks, which is
Yeah, they did.
absolutely crazy. I mean, I don't want to give them too much air, but why would someone not be cool with a volunteer group cleaning up a park? Like, what were the arguments you heard?
I mean, I guess the most good faith argument is, why do we have to do this? What are our taxes for?
I mean, fair.
That's the fair criticism. Then there have been a lot that aren't really fair, to be honest.
Well,
But
let's only deal with the fair.
yeah,
You know?
the fair one is, like I said, we do pay a lot of taxes in the city. Why do community groups have to do this?
Mhm.
I mean, I guess honestly, my reaction to that would be like, yeah, you're probably right. But we have this situation right now where the parks are not funded adequately.
Yeah.
One of the things that we do on the advocacy side is we're part of the New Yorkers for Parks Coalition,
Mhm.
which has a very simple ask: put 1% of the city budget towards the Parks
Yeah.
Department. Right now, it's hovering around 0.6. And
But 1% would be almost a doubling.
exactly. I mean, that would be huge, but right now that's not what we have. So we're going to continue to do it. And also, I think there's an important aspect of a lot of what people like to complain about is quality of life
Mm,
issues. There's trash on the streets,
yeah.
the garbage isn't picked up regularly enough, there's graffiti here, this isn't looking good. We wanted to let people know that there is a place where they can go to begin making progress on that.
Yeah.
And we think that we can lead by example. If somebody is going to be a jerk, they're going to be a jerk. But most people aren't that way. Most
Yeah.
people just don't know that there's an option for them to get involved.
And it might just be that people are looking at Breg just from that one event where it's like, yeah, you do monthly cleanups, but it's a group of people that are involved in also lobbying for more parks funding and
Yeah.
also for this. It's like, these are kids' play spaces. Do you really want to let them be dirty while we lobby government?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Exactly. And none of this is a criticism of the Parks Department either. They are extremely helpful with us.
yeah.
The big event that we do every year is Earth Day.
Hmm.
I mean, God, we must meet with them at least 2-3 times a week in the weeks leading up to the event. So they know exactly what supplies we need, exactly where we're going to be in the park, and they help us through the whole process. But they're limited in manpower right now.
Yeah.
So
And that's something that we have in Bay Ridge.
we have a ton of it. And people really, really want to get involved. I've had people that I see on the street picking up litter. It was still during the pandemic. I saw a woman with like a grabber once on my corner. I was like, hey, I'm sorry. I hope this isn't too weird. But like, I run an environmental group. If you want to do this with some company, you can come out. So it's just, we want to make sure that people know that there's a place to go where they can do this and where they can begin to make a positive impact with or without the parks getting the funding they need.
How many people were in that first meeting, and 3.5 years later, how has the group grown?
A lot of the most active people have been there since the beginning. We have a 5-person executive board who are
Mhm.
sort of really the ones who do the day-to-day work and keep things running. Every one of those 5 people have been there from the beginning. One of the things that we really try to emphasize to people is you come and go as you're available.
Ah, that sounds nice.
Well, because I mean, it's something that's really important to us. I knew from the beginning. Oh, not from the very beginning, but as soon as it was clear that this was becoming a serious thing, I knew that I never wanted the group to collect dues. We never wanted to be like a strict membership based
Mhm.
organization like that. We wanted to, again, be a hub for people more than anything. So if you are really busy at work, come in as you're able. If you have time or you have interest in something specific, come in and talk to us about it. No hard feelings if you have to step away for a little while or come back. We've had a lot of that. We've had people who have had to take long periods off, but then they come back for one of the cleanups or something like that. And we're just happy to see them. So a lot of the people who are involved have been there from the start, but it's also been a really great way to bring new people in.
So you mentioned earlier that you didn't want to bore me with the details and bore listeners with the details, but this is Radio Free Bay Ridge. Getting bored by details is
Hyperlocal.
kind of our whole shtick. So if I wanted to get involved, you mentioned that there are meetings. How often do those happen?
So we have our meetings every other Monday.
Wow.
Yeah, so almost every other Monday.
No, but that's
we'll move them
impressive.
around for holidays and stuff. That is a lot, you're right. One thing that we realized, I'm not going to say early on, but maybe about a year and a half in, was that was too much. But on the other hand, you do want to keep up contact with people.
Mm-hmm.
So going to something like once a month is just too little contact.
Yeah.
So what we started doing is, as much as possible, we try to have an action meeting and a planning meeting. That
Mm-hmm.
was how we originally phrased it. Our last meeting was this past Monday, but the Monday before that fell on Earth Day itself. So we went out and we gathered petition signatures for our Finish Fourth Avenue campaign.
Nice.
And that is good because it gives people, you're right, we probably don't have it. Well, we do have enough to talk about every 2 weeks. I do, but people might not want to just hear me talk. So we want to give people a way to actually do work on the streets.
Yeah, finish Fourth Avenue, things like that. Clearly, like there are other things that Breg gets involved in because
Yeah.
I've seen so many actions where it's like, oh, it's this group and Breg.
Yeah.
And then it's this group and Breg. And it's
Yeah.
like, you guys have, again, environment touches so many issues.
Yeah.
It's so easy for Breg to be like, well, yeah, we're going to get involved in this. So 2 weeks doesn't seem too crazy.
No, and it's really honestly surprising how much the agendas fill up.
Especially if listeners, you decided to just join in and you can just apparently hop in and out as you need to.
You can just hop in and out, honestly. I mean, obviously, we don't put our meeting links out in public, but really all it takes is an email or a message on the Facebook group or anything like that,
Yeah.
and we'll get you in.
Well, another way of getting in person is those cleanups,
Yeah.
right? So like that's where I imagine like a lot of people start out as they go to a cleanup, they meet
Exactly.
everyone face to face, you kind of learn some faces and
Yeah.
you're in the group,
Yeah.
basically.
Exactly.
What does a cleanup normally involve? I'm going to go to a park and what? Are you going to make me do backbreaking labor for 5 hours? What?
Yeah. No, not really. We really try to be like responsive to what people are able to do. So if someone turns around and they're like, I don't want to do this.
You didn't like sign like a release. You're not like,
Exactly. The really basic form of a cleanup is grabbers and garbage bags, and we're picking up litter and stuff like that. And I will say again, this is one of the really great ways of working with Partnership for Parks is they're also able to arrange for the pickup. So we're able to tell people, stay for as long as you're able, leave the bag at a garbage pail in the park and it'll be taken up. And sometimes, yes, the piles of garbage bags that are there for a little while can seem unseemly, but it's better than what was before, which is the garbage freaking everywhere.
So you like let the parks department know you're doing the cleanup. They come and they pick it up like in the park.
Yeah.
So if I'm running like 10 minutes late, I didn't miss anything. And all the stuff is provided.
Exactly. Everything is provided. Parks is very, very good about making sure that we have everything that we need.
Nice.
And I will say, I think, I don't know for sure, I think we are one of the most consistent volunteer groups that they have, at least in Brooklyn.
Nice.
So we have a little bit of cred at this point.
Are there any projects that members have suggested that have turned into like cool things?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, one of the biggest things that we've done that I guess I'll say I'm not as involved in myself is our street tree care work. But that's really headed up by our vice president, Patricia. She's a super steward, which basically means she's allowed to take care of any tree pits without parks being present, which is really great because then she's allowed to lead tree care events for other people too. So that's something that we've become very active on. That was from a specific member. Any suggestions people have, we try to listen to them.
Yeah.
We've helped make sure that businesses along 3rd Avenue are recycling batteries. And this person, she came to us and she was like, I found this service. They seem legit. I've talked to them. I have their name. We just write something up and we'll give it to some of the hardware stores along 3rd. That was it. I think maybe it took me like maybe an hour collectively before walking along 3rd. So we really try to be as responsive to what other people want to do as possible. It's very decentralized decision making, to be honest, which is, I think, a strength and has really let us grow. And it's also let us bring in people from other groups, like what you talked about, all the partnerships that we do. Like, there's no pressure, say you're part of Bike South Brooklyn or you're part of Bay Ridge Cares or something. You can still come in, talk to us, and we'll work with you.
That decentralized decision making has often been the heart of the strongest
Groups, like what you talked about.
Groups in Bay Ridge.
Exactly.
The ones that have lasted the longest and have done the most good are often the ones that adopt that method. And it's really cool seeing, over the years, that really play out multiple times and be so successful for the groups that really manage to get it working
Yeah.
and genuinely improve the neighborhood. It's one of those things that's unsung. Cleaner parks. I'm sure that a lot of people in this neighborhood have just vaguely noticed that they're a bit cleaner
I hope so.
consistently.
I hope so. Thing that I've loved seeing the most is honestly how much of it is starting to happen without us. We think that showing people that this is possible, that this can be done, is really the most important thing that we can do. Community Board 10, they used to do cleanups all the time and then they stopped them. But we worked with them, helped them get set up on the cleanups. We just had one with I think around 120 people at it last
Whew.
Saturday. Yeah, it was incredible. It was school children, it was community groups, it was families that just saw what we were doing and stopped in. So it's spreading, I hope.
We haven't used the word yet, but that's stewardship, right?
Yeah,
So much of activism is about, stewardship over a specific issue. And even if the group itself happens to wane, or if it changes, or even if the group remains and becomes powerful, its effect is that it engenders stewardship among people who are either a member of it or who witness it in action. And you
exactly.
realize, hey, the tree in front of my house or the park that I go to every day after school with my kid.
Yeah.
Those are things that I can take ownership of. And going back to those naysayers at the start who are like, how come someone has to do this? I'm offended to see someone having to do this. And it's like,
Yeah.
no one has to.
No.
No one has to. It's that people want to.
Exactly.
And when you see someone do it because they want to, you realize, I can want to too. I do. I do want to do that. It doesn't take much time and it
It
makes
really
me feel
doesn't.
good, and people get something out of it and the city gets something out of it and your neighbors get something out of it whether they like to or not. So that's the funniest thing is all those people are like, you shouldn't have to do that. Well, I'm sorry, but you get to enjoy a clean park whether you like it or not.
Yeah. No, we'll force you to have clean parks.
We'll keep a dirty part of the park for you.
Yeah, exactly. No, but honestly, I don't think people realize how good it actually feels. When we had our Earth Day event, just seeing how many people came out, young people, personal friends from different parts of my life who I had no idea they even knew about this were there. It's such a great feeling. And I really think that I'm not saying they're going to turn it into a full-time job as Breg has basically become for me,
Yeah.
but most people just want to spend a couple of minutes even in the park just helping out a
Mm.
little bit. And I think that awareness is really spreading. Environmentalism touches on so many different issues. So wherever we can, we branch out. We do a lot of work in Coney Island. We work a lot with a group called Friends of Astor Levy Park, focusing on resiliency, which is a huge issue there.
Mm.
In Sunset Park, we've been active on the BQE redesign, which is another huge thing
Yeah.
that we haven't really talked about. We've found that Bay Ridge also has a historical personality as ooh, they're not going to go along with this. They're not
Yeah,
going to like
yeah, let's
this.
be honest with ourselves, yeah.
Um, but that's not the reality. I mean, it can be, but I think when a lot of groups have realized that there is an environmental group in Bay Ridge, they jump on the opportunity to work
Mhm.
with us. It was about a year in, we got in touch with a group called 350 Brooklyn, and then they, within like 24 hours, got us in touch with like 4 other coalitions. They're like, we don't have anybody in Southern Brooklyn. This is great. It's like, all right, guys, we're all volunteers. Like we have jobs here. But no, we really try to give as much support as we can. And part of that too is acknowledging where we are more fortunate. Like the
Mhm.
BQE has been a really interesting experiment for us where there are proposals out there to cap extensive portions of the Bay Ridge Trench, which is
Yeah.
great. We want that. We want to do as much of that as we possibly can. But Bay Ridge is not the environmental justice community Sunset Park is, and the amount of toxins and pollution that they have to deal with from a highway On 3rd Avenue,
Yeah.
elevated. Can you imagine that in Bay
Yeah,
Ridge?
we have like,
Yes,
sloping green grasses and trees on either
exactly.
side for our section of a pollutive highway. But
Yeah.
yeah, they're the ones that should be centered,
Exactly.
obviously.
Yeah. And the same as, when we talk about resilience, Bay Ridge is a ridge. It's uphill. There are still ways in which climate change and extreme weather affect us. But when we're talking about sea level rise and constant flooding, I mean, that's in Coney Island. So we want to
Yeah.
be doing the work there.
But it's also important that there is a group that represents Bay Ridge, as,
Yeah.
really lucky as we are, because if you don't have a group, if you cede that ground, you cede it to the couple of people who are extremely NIMBY or extremely anti
Yeah.
and gum up the works.
Exactly. And it's important for people to know from outside the community that we are here and we are doing this. The way I came into environmentalism was when I was in college. I was interning in DC when Trump pulled out of the Paris Agreement.
Yeah.
I guess that was 2017. And I mean, I had a whole existential crisis. I was like, what the hell am I doing any of this for? The planet's going to be dead before I even turn 40. So let's do something about it now. So we're not a partisan group, obviously.
Mhm.
We don't endorse candidates. We don't
Yeah.
get into anything like that. But we do think that we have strong relationships with at least our city and state representatives. We've even spoken with Nicole Maliotakis' office, at least. But we think that there's a lot of value in showing our elected officials that there are people that are paying attention to this.
Yeah.
The solutions, oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes are really not that hard. Councilman Brannon's office and Camilla Hanks over on Staten Island have called for as well a Staten Island to Brooklyn ferry connection.
There we go.
Or the IBX line. The infrastructure already exists. We have the piers, we have the rail lines. If we add those connections, it's transformational.
How many cars are off of the streets? How much pollution is eliminated? And yeah, it might seem small when you compare it to the Paris Climate Agreement,
Yeah.
but enough neighborhoods of informed people who care, it's like we're doing our part.
We're
Like you
doing our
can at
part.
least say Bay Ridge isn't in the way.
There's no point, especially around environmentalism, where we'll be done. We're probably never going to have a day where it's like the world solved climate change today.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different way of thinking about our city, about our country. Look at what the possibilities are. Look at what we can do here to make a difference. It feels small. A lot of the times it doesn't even feel perceptible, but it does make a difference.
I think that's a great thing to end on, that it matters even if you can't see it. And the actions of Breg, I think you can see
I think
what
so,
Breg
too.
has done.
Yes.
I know that Patricia couldn't make it today,
Yeah.
and all the other people in Breg, thank you so much for doing the work you do, whether it's the person who just turned on this episode because you're like, I went to one of those. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And come to the next time whenever you're able. We are try to be out there as much as we possibly can. So there will always be opportunities.
Denny, thanks so much for sitting
course.
down with us. Thanks so much for being on our rekindling
Yeah,
episode.
congrats on season 2, and thanks for using me as your guinea pig.
I needed to get back into the swing of things. And Danny, you are our environmental correspondent. We have that episode that we haven't done for a while of just all the changes that have happened to your local parks in the last couple of years.
There are a ton of them.
Councilman Brannon has definitely thrown a lot of money toward parks, and we wanted to just do an episode where we just cover all the things that you might not have known have changed.
Yeah, exactly. And all the stuff that's going to change.
Oh
soon,
yeah, there's
hopefully.
still a bunch of stuff in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So until then, thank you everyone for joining us. You can follow us on Twitter. It's kind of a toxic mess. You can if you want to. Like us on Facebook, definitely subscribe to the podcast. Check out our website at radiofreebayridge.org. And until next time, everyone, stay free, Bay Ridge.